Hey folks, I promised you that as members of the White Rocket family now, you'd be getting members only special videos from time to time, at least a couple a month. Well, I aim to do way better than that. I think that 1 to 2 a month is probably my minimum. That's what you're guaranteed to get. But I'm going to try to do them whenever I'm able to, and I think I'll try to squeeze a couple in today. I'm going without headphones today, so this should be interesting. Because I'm just talking directly to you in the video, I don't need to hear anybody coming back over the earphones, so we'll see how this goes. So I had a couple of topics in mind to talk about today, just to kind of get us started, right? Just something to kick things off. And for this one, I think I'm going to look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe as it stands right now. This is a topic that I've talked about on the show several times, often with Jim Yelton. And I thought it might be, it wouldn't make for a whole hour-long White Rocket show just to kind of say, here's where we are right now. But I thought it might make for a halfway decent, quick little video, just as some bonus content, right? And I welcome your feedback, your questions, your suggestions, your topics, anything like that for shows going forward, because I'd love to have more ideas and more things to talk about and what you want us to talk about. And remember, if you join at the highest level, I think it's $20, you get to be on the show. We'll work out ways that you can be on audio or video, depending on what we're able to work with the technology at the given time, and the topics that we talk about. So, okay. So I just kind of wanted to say, here's where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is right now, and where we think it's pretty much going, as it now is pretty much in its last major phase before who knows what, right? Before they reboot the whole thing, or whether they change out to entirely new characters but continue the same timeline. We're not really sure what's going to happen when Phase 3 ends. But to kind of recap where we are now, and I think most people know this intrinsically, or if they stopped and thought about it, but let's just lay out kind of the timeline up till now to see where we've come from, to see where we're going. So, it all started back in 2008 with the first Iron Man movie, and we had at the very end in the post-credit scene in the stinger, we had the promise of Nick Fury and the Avengers Initiative coming along, which certainly made me very excited back then as an Iron Man and Avengers fan. Very soon after that, like just over a month later, we had the Incredible Hulk, which was not horrible, but I just don't feel like Hulk is a great leading man type character. He's a good supporting character. He's a good, well, for the team, he's not a good teammate. Which is funny because he's been an Avenger and a Defender, and there's probably another team out there somewhere that's had the Hulk as a member. Maybe, maybe not. I didn't prepare that little digression information for that off the top of my head. Is all I can think of is just the Avengers and the Defenders. But still, being a member of two super teams is pretty amazing for a character whose main job in the Marvel Universe is just sort of has historically been an agent of chaos, just sort of a bowling ball rolling through, I mean, the Avengers couldn't get him off the roster fast enough. So I think the Hulk works well. Now, again, I mean, within the team, as a writer and for a story, the Hulk is a great character because he's like a hurricane. He's like a category whatever hurricane coming through that you have to deal with, that you have to react to. I think that they've done a great job so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in showing how everybody around him is like walking on eggshells when he's Bruce Banner, because as Bruce Banner, he's so soft-spoken. Mark Ruffalo does such a great job of that. He's so soft-spoken. He's so, nice and friendly and reserved and almost shy, but yet that if you tick him off, green and smash and all that. So I think they've done a really good job with that, with using him in that way. And he's a fun character. He's the kind of character that's fun for a writer, but you wouldn't want to be his teammate. In story, not a great character. Meta, as writing a story, Great character. You can do lots of fun stuff with him. So The Incredible Hulk, again, not a great movie, not a great solo character, but it was not horrible. Iron Man 2 came along, and I'll tell you right now, if you want to hear a really good conversation, I think, about Iron Man 2, the Avengers Assemble podcast that we do, it's on its own network right now. It'll be coming on the White Rocket Entertainment Network in a few months if everything goes as planned. But if you go over to AvengersAssemble.net, right, our home base for Avengers stuff, AvengersAssemble.net, you may need the www.AvengersAssemble.net. If you go over there, you can find links to all the podcasts we've done so far on the Avengers Assemble podcast. I think you can also go to Podbean, AvengersAssemble.podbean, Podbean, like a vegetable, Podbean.com, AvengersAssemble.podbean.com. That's the home base for our Avengers podcasts. Okay, so if you go there, I think one of the most recent episodes we recorded, audio podcast, is Mark Buskett and me talking about Iron Man 2. We reviewed Iron Man 1 several months ago, and we've just recently reviewed Iron Man 2. And that was a very fun conversation. I always really enjoy having Mark on as a movie reviewer because I think he's one of the more insightful and articulate movie reviewers, and he certainly gets this material right. So he's always going to be my go-to guy for movie reviews. We're going to continue working our way through the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie by movie on the Avengers Assemble podcast on that site going forward. We'll be doing Thor coming up soon, and that's the next movie in the MCU. I thought Thor was great. I loved it a lot. I'm a big Kenneth Branagh fan anyway, so him directing it was great. It's a Shakespearean production, and he's a good Shakespearean director and actor, so I was very happy with that. I'm going to move things along. Captain America: The First Avenger. Many of you know I'm not a big fan of that movie. Two things disappointed me about it. I thought it would be great to have a period piece. I thought, what a great idea to set it in World War II. But you end up getting not a lot of really Invaders style stuff. It's more as like a montage almost. You get a quick montage of Cap with the Howling Commandos, Dum Dum Dugan and everything, but just very briefly. And then the thing that really disappointed me the most, I think, about the first Captain America movie is that the Red Skull should be Marvel's scariest villain. He's the Nazi. He's like if Hitler was a supervillain rather than just a horrible person, right? The Red Skull is a cartoon character, Hitler. And so you have to push him to 11. And I just felt like, and I mean, I love Hugo Weaving, and I thought Hugo Weaving was a great choice to play the Red Skull, but I was just disappointed that they made him almost a cartoon character of a cartoon character, and he never really impressed me that much as the Red Skull. I still wait for the day that we get an impressive, in a scary way, right, an impressive Doctor Doom or Red Skull. Hadn't happened yet with either one of those characters, arguably two of Marvel's best villains. It says a lot about the creative teams and the writers and the directors and the actors that we've gotten a better Loki than we have a Doctor Doom or a Red Skull so far in any Marvel-related movie. And that's a tragedy. That's a real tragedy. So that was, and then of course, Phase 1 ended with Marvel's The Avengers, the big Avengers movie, which I loved. Fantastic movie. Can't wait till Mark and I get to review that one. But that was Joss Whedon at his best, doing everything we know he can do, and it shouldn't have surprised anybody that it was great. Let's run on ahead now. Iron Man 3 kicked off Phase 2, and many of you know I'm not a fan of Iron Man 3 because of mainly what it did to the Mandarin. The Mandarin is the Iron Man archenemy, the arch foe, and it played a silly game with the character rather than actually using him straight up. The Mandarin could have been done effectively in any number of ways. The way they seem to be using him as just a sort of terrorist fanatic of any background, just using the name Mandarin, that was fine. The way that Ben Kingsley was doing him was very scary and effective, I thought. You could have also done him as sort of a a Chinese businessman in a three-piece suit and tie, and have him be a billionaire, and he's just a Mandarin because he has, power and money and control over vast resources and can use them for evil, like the Chinese hammer, something along those lines. So I wasn't a big fan of Iron Man 3, and I know that you have the scene in the Thor The Dark World Blu-ray where they try to address that a little bit. I don't think anything's ever going to come of it, because I think that they are never going to bring the Mandarin back, and they did that as just to throw a bone to us, and that's fine. Thanks for the bone, Marvel. I appreciated it. Thor: The Dark World. This movie, to me, is woefully underappreciated. I don't understand the hate that so many have for it, or just the disappointment. I thought it was at least as good as the first Thor movie, and I thought both of the Thor movies have been very good so far. I enjoyed everything about Thor: The Dark World. I love Thor's supporting cast. I like the professor. I like the intern. I like the intern's intern, which I thought was funny. That can't pronounce Mjolnir. She goes, Mew Mew. I love everything about it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was cute. I thought it was clever. I thought it was very good. So I really enjoyed it. The one thing I'm on record as being disappointed about Thor: The Dark World is that you bring in Christopher Eccleston, who's a fantastic actor, played Doctor Who. He was the Ninth Doctor in Doctor Who a few years ago. And seem to have some technical problems. I have to go back and check on that. I apologize. This is one more reason why we need the Patreon to be successful, because we continue to have technical problems, and better equipment could solve all of that. Anyway, so yeah, Christopher Eccleston was a disappointment because he was largely a mannequin in that movie, and that's disappointing. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. A much better movie. Vast improvement on the first Captain America movie. In fact, there's not many trilogies of movies where they actually get increasingly better movie to movie. I can't think of any offhand, though there may be some. But the Captain America movies definitely fit that bill, because the first one was okay, Winter Soldier was very, very good, and Civil War was outstanding. So, fantastic. We'll be coming up on doing these, obviously, on the Avengers podcast very soon. Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014, wonderful movie. Humor, right? Brought a silly humor to the MCU that we hadn't really seen before. I'm going to keep one eye on things over here to make sure the technical systems are still operating okay. So forgive my occasional glances like that. But Guardians of the Galaxy, wonderful movie, wonderful characters, wonderful humor, direction, writing, everything about it. The CGI characters were at least as good as the human characters, Groot and Rocket. Well, I got two. I have two issues with Guardians of the Galaxy. One was that, three. It's turning into the Spanish Inquisition. The three problems I have. Among the problems I have with Guardians of the Galaxy, one is Yondu, of course, because Yondu was never a hillbilly villain. Okay, so that was just odd. He was an interesting character, but it was just odd to call him Yondu. Have him be somebody else. I don't know. Two, the Nova Corps, right? The Novas need to be more like the Green Lanterns, flying spaceships and just being guys in silly, uniforms. Didn't do a lot for me, honestly. I want Novas to be superheroes. That's simple as that. Not just foot soldiers or pilots. And the third problem I had with Guardians of the Galaxy was Ronan the Accuser, because he was a very flat, one-note, fanatical villain. And I remember reading stories, the story where he was married off to Crystal for diplomatic reasons, Crystal of the Inhumans, and was actually in love with her and brought her flowers. And I'm trying to reconcile a Ronan bringing flowers to the his Inhuman fiance or whatever, with the idea of Ronan as presented in that movie, and it just doesn't seem like the same character. So a kind of a one-note cartoon villain Ronan didn't work for me. I thought he could have been better because I like Ronan as a character, and that really wasn't him in the movie. Avengers: Age of Ultron. Well, I've got several shows online talking about that, but too much, right? The core story was very good, no problem with that. Core story was fine, but trying to put too much else into it, and I know that Joss Whedon didn't probably want to do some of that, but he was probably kind of forced to. So I kind of hate that because it made the movie too jumbled, and at the expense of what was actually there being any clearer, because the whole business with the Vision coming to life did not work for me at all. The whole business of Thor in the pool of water did not work for me at all. There were lots of neat Easter egg moments, and there were lots of neat moments setting things up in the future, but it seemed like that all came at the expense of making the actual movie itself less clear. So that was disappointing in a way. Ant-Man movie, you know what, I ended up saying that was the best movie of 2015, so I really enjoyed Ant-Man. Can't wait to talk about it more. All right, so that gets us into Phase 3, and it's just because it was funny. It delivered more than we expected, and it wasn't the disappointment that so many people were predicting it would be. That gets us to Phase 3, which began with, man, it's hard to believe we're only this short of a way into Phase 3, but it began with Civil War, which I thought was a grand slam home run. Even though, Iron Man lost, we'll talk about that later, but grand slam home run. The Russo brothers now have my complete confidence. I'm ready for them to go direct the next James Bond movie once they're finished with the Avengers. And they're going to be directing the upcoming Avengers remaining 2 movies. More about that in a second. Doctor Strange, I didn't like it as much as some people. I thought it was fine. It was okay. It was all right. I didn't love it. A lot of it was too predictable to me. Did like Mads Mikkelsen. He's always good. Loved him in Casino Royale. Loved him in Doctor Strange. But just didn't love it as much as some. That's where we stand right now. Now, looking forward, the rest of this year. Coming up in May, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It looks to be even funnier. They really are. They seem to be really pushing their chips into the funny table for Guardians of the Galaxy. And hey, that's fine. That's what works. Go for it, right? I mean, that's what's entertaining to us. I mean, those are not characters we're going to take seriously anyway, right? I mean, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Star-Lord. I mean, it's just, these are not characters that are meant to be, Iron Man and Captain America. These are characters that are funny. They're wild. I know they're going to appear in the Avengers, at least the first of the 2 Avengers movies, and that's fine. But should give us some funny interactions. But we'll see. But it looks like they're really going all in on it being a funny movie. Drax. Whoever thought Drax the Destroyer would be comedy relief? I didn't. I mean, I know the big Hulk version of him in Jim Starlin's Infinity Watch. In that era, I know that he was a comedy character then, but I didn't never dream in the movies he would be. So, and that actor would do such a good job with him. He really does. Spider-Man: Homecoming in July with the new Marvel Spider-Man from Civil War. I did not like the Garfield Spider-Man from the last 2 movies, the sort of the Phase 2 Spider-Man. But certainly the new Spider-Man did a great job in Civil War. So looking forward to seeing what Marvel has in store. I've heard a rumor that Marvel plans to do a sort of like a Harry Potter structure for Spider-Man, where they're going to, like every year at Hogwarts, we'll get every year as Spider-Man. I imagine that means we'd see him meet a different villain and learn more, and he's in high school, and he's in college, and he's graduated, and he's married, And I imagine seeing basically his life from the 50 years of comics recreated in a series of year-by-year movies. And that's an interesting approach if they actually do it that way. It also depends on how many years in between movies. Is this a yearly thing, or is this going to be you get a year of his life every 2 or 3 years? I don't know about that. We've got Thor Ragnarok, which is the big Twilight of the Gods coming up. I've said all along they should call it Thor versus Hulk. I realize that would, people would complain it's too much like Superman versus Batman. And after the success of Superman v Batman, maybe it was a smart idea not to call it Hulk versus Thor. In my heart, I'm thinking of it as Hulk versus Thor, though, and it should be fun. It also has Iron Man. No. Spider-Man has Iron Man. Has Doctor Strange in it, I believe. That's an interesting combination. That's almost like you're trying to form the Defenders. But, of course, we know the Defenders are on Netflix, and they're a totally different group. And, by the way, wouldn't it be cool if Benedict Cumberbatch had a cameo as Doctor Strange on the Netflix Defenders? I think it would be cool. Or Mark Ruffalo. We'll see. I doubt it. 2018 has got 3 big ones coming up. In 2018, in February, we get Black Panther. Should be great. Black Panther was a bright spot among... Is it working? Have we lost it again? Is it working? Hello? It's being weird. Can't tell if it's working. Doesn't seem like it's working properly. I apologize. If this video comes out all jumbled and terrible, we'll make it better, I promise. It just, every now and then I look over there and it's frozen, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, is anything I'm saying getting recorded? So we'll see. I'll find a better way to do this, I think. But I was talking about the Black Panther movie. Black Panther was a bright spot among bright spots in Civil War, and I'm looking forward to his movie. Then we've got Avengers Infinity War. This confused me, though, because I was under the impression that the last one, the 4th Avengers movie, would be Infinity War, and they were changing the name of number 3. If you go ahead and do Infinity War in number 3, then what does that leave for number 4, right? I mean, if 3 turns out to be the big Thanos, gemstones, Infinity, gauntlet thing, then what does that leave for 4? So I don't know. I'm as puzzled as anybody, and I'm really curious to find out. Then we get, in July, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we don't get another Ant-Man movie until after the next Avengers movie, which is interesting. We'll see. Looking forward to that because, again, Ant-Man was a very good movie, and I like the characters. I like the actors that are in it. I don't have a problem with going with Scott Lang as opposed to Henry Pym. It's weird how Henry Pym is now of the same generation maybe as Howard Stark and some of that crowd. So, then 2019 brings out 2 movies I'm really, really, really looking forward to. First, in March, we get the Ms. Marvel movie. Of course, it's called Captain Marvel, but, those of you that know me know I think of it as Ms. Marvel. That's how we first really got a costume identity for Carol Danvers, and so she will always be Ms. Marvel to me. Not Binary, not Nemesis, not Warbird, not Captain Marvel, but Ms. Marvel. That's not an insult. It's not meant as an insult. That's how I think of Carol. Can't wait for that movie. I like the actress that they have cast, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it. Who the villain will be. Is it an origin story? Do we see her in the Avengers number 3 movie, Infinity War? And then she gets a movie, kind of like with Civil War and Spider-Man. It worked for them. I mean, that's fine with me. Go ahead and use Carol in Infinity War and then have her movie, just like you did Spider-Man, Marvel. That'd be fine. And then the last one in 2019 in May is the untitled Avengers film, Avengers 4. We don't know what it's about or who it's about or what it's called yet. That gets us to the end, and like I said, I don't know who's gonna be the villain. Is it more Thanos? Could we possibly get Kang by then? Because I really would like to see Kang used as a villain before this group of Avengers disintegrates. If we don't get Kang in that movie, we're never going to get Kang against the Avengers that we have now. It'll be a different Avengers, and that's very disappointing to me. But they'll have to get him back from Fox. But it can be done, right? I mean, they got Spider-Man back from Sony. They could make a similar deal and get Kang. And then they've added recently Spider-Man Homecoming 2, which now has a release date, believe it or not, of July 5th, 2019. So we think that whatever phase 4, some new starting over, we don't know, but there will still be a Spider-Man. That's when the next Spider-Man movie will come out. Will be 2 years after, almost to the day, 2 years after Homecoming. So, all right. So that's a run through the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. I would say more, except I'm afraid that my video capture technology is not working right. Hopefully I didn't waste all this time. I gave you something of value. If you have comments, if you have suggestions, if you know people that might want to join in and become a member, this is just scratching the surface of what I plan to do here. This is just the absolute tiniest scratch in the surface. But I just wanted to give you something that's kind of you guys alone for right now. And this will, be up for anybody in the near future that signs up for as little as $1 a month, okay? So follow me on Twitter at Van Allen Plexico. Friend me on Facebook, Van Allen Plexico. And by all means, spread the word. Feel free to make comments, suggestions, and we'll go forward. So I think I'm going to go ahead and record another video now, if I can get this thing working right, and talk about another specific topic. And so, as I say at the end of every White Rocket show, the rocket's going to get out of here for another week, and we will see you guys down the road. Where's the button? The override! Where's the override?